We are here this afternoon to inform you guys of the situation that happened this morning. Monroe police officers responded to the Brooks Farm subdivision about 10:45 for a domestic call. The 911 caller told dispatchers that her estranged significant other was headed toward her residence and that he intended to cause significant harm and possibly burn the home down. Our officers went and they intercepted him as he was entering the neighborhood. They tried to stop him with a traffic stop, and he did not stop. He led officers on a pursuit. The pursuit went towards Sunset Drive, where he first attempted to run over one police officer, and then he made it to Highway 74 toward Marshville. There he struck an officer intentionally that was trying to put out stop sticks to end the pursuit. The pursuit continued and went toward Marshville. At some point, the Union County Sheriff's Office also got involved as it left the city, which is where I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant May so that he can explain the end of the pursuit.
Thank you, Lieutenant Malone. As Lieutenant Malone's already stated, the Sheriff's Office heard the radio chatter, the radio traffic, about this dangerous suspect who had already made clear his intentions to cause harm to local residents. Monroe PD did a great job. Their officers did a great job of intercepting this suspect before he got to that home. The pursuit that he led eventually struck one officer, a Monroe PD officer, trying to end it safely with a tire deflation device. Sheriff's Office became involved to help our partner law enforcement organization out at that point. Deputies involved realized that this person posed a threat, an imminent threat, to life here in our community. He was acting very dangerously. His intentions were unclear, but we knew that from the 911 caller that he was potentially armed and he had already struck at least one police officer. So his intentions were clear at that point. So our deputies utilized a forced vehicle stop technique, which they're trained and certified on, to end the pursuit in Marshville. That forced vehicle stop was effective. It stopped the car in Marshville. At that point, as officers went to remove the suspect from the vehicle, he used his own weapon to shoot himself. So deputies and officers at the scene were able to remove him from the car, and they began providing rendering life-saving efforts. Union EMS was contacted. They were to transport him for emergency medical care. He's still in critical care and being treated at this time. His identity is being withheld as we continue to try to make contact with his family, and we believe numerous criminal charges for this suspect are forthcoming. Once again, to just kind of wrap everything up of this incident, we're glad that our officers and our deputies were in the right place to prevent a suspect from causing harm to a mother, her children, and ultimately cause harm to other innocent drivers and bystanders in our community. So our people put themselves in the victim's place today by doing their job effectively, and we're very proud of their efforts. Our hearts go out to the family and everyone affected by this, by the suspect's actions in this case. We know there's a lot of people that his actions will affect. The investigation into this is ongoing. It's a multi-agency investigation. The North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation has been called in to question some of the officers involved with the forced vehicle stop, just to ensure a fair, unbiased investigation into the use of force is conducted, and the Union County Sheriff's Office is actually leading the investigation into the self-inflicted gunshot wound. There is currently no evidence that exists that supports that any officer discharged their weapon during this incident. Like I said, all evidence points that the suspect, after realizing his vehicle was immobilized, tried to take his own life. At this point, if anybody has a few questions, we're in a position to take those. We can't share what we don't know. It's still very early, but we're happy to do that.
You said they're trying to take his own life, so this wasn't an accidental discharge?
No, sir. All the evidence indicates that once the vehicle was stopped, there was nowhere else for the suspect to go. We know from our 911 caller that he was potentially armed. Before the doors were open to that car, evidence of a gunshot, the sound of a gunshot was heard. So that leads us to believe that the suspect tried to take his own life based on that and the injuries that were consistent with that gunshot.
Can you describe a little bit more of the force stop that stopped the vehicle?
Yeah, so forced vehicle stop is a technique that the Sheriff's Office uses, and that's basically, in layman's terms, we call it a rolling roadblock. What it means is that we position patrol vehicles, deputies put themselves in the place of the public to put their cars in there to try to slow that suspect down, prevent them from having a way out, and to ultimately push that suspect off to the side of the road safely. If the suspect complies, no one is harmed, no vehicles are damaged. It's a very safe, efficient technique, which has been very successful for us. If the suspect fails to comply, as in this case, and strikes deputies or police officers' vehicles, it often results in a motor vehicle crash or collision, which is what happened today.
Did you describe this as a high-speed chase, low-speed chase, or how much dangerous was the public?
So I know that from our end, speeds range from anywhere from 80 to just over 100 miles an hour throughout the chase.
And how long is the chase, I guess, completely?
It
So-
started in the Brooks Farm subdivision on Harvest Way. The pursuit started in Brooks Farm on Harvest Way, and it ended in Marshville on Highway 74.
We have relative timings for those.
The initial 911 call was at 10:45 a.m.
And then the officer who was hurt, how is the person doing? Are they in good spirit? I mean, I know the injury,
Yes, so he sustained injuries to his leg from being struck by the vehicle, but he was just released from the hospital, so he's going to be okay.
Talk to me about, officers literally putting themselves in harm's way, quite literally, if struck by a car in this. I mean, that's crazy for civilians, I think, to hear and just recognize that that's part of what y'all do.
They did a phenomenal job intercepting this suspect before he even made it to the house, where we are certain he was intending to cause harm to this family. So they all put themselves in danger doing that. And then trying to end the pursuit before anybody else got hurt absolutely was courageous of the officer.